Teresa Del Pilar asked me, how do you plan and organize your learning when you're a self-taught artist? Admittedly, I went to a high school with a fine arts program, so I had a lot of help with directing my learning when I was young. However, when I dove into comics right out of high school, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to learn a lot on the fly and muddle my way through it. And through that, I've discovered that, learning by yourself is really hard. And it's easy to go in the wrong direction and build up a lot of bad habits. So yeah, this is a great question. I really had to think about it. How do you direct yourself when you're a self-taught artist? Well, I guess I'll give you the best advice I can give with what worked for me. Start with the fundamentals. You'll hear this everywhere because it's solid advice. Learn composition, color theory, gesture and figure studies, life drawing super important, perspective, and depending on what type of media you're going into, so traditional or digital or whatever, looking into how to properly use the paints you're using or how to use the program you're using. Those are really important pieces to focus on when you're first learning. If you're getting into comics and webcomics, it's a really good idea to look into the parts of a comic and how they work. And honestly, you can look through all the fundamental stuff at your own leisure, kind of in any order. Maybe start with composition if you're not sure where to go. Composition is the building blocks to any art piece, whether it's photography, comics, illustration, whatever. They all follow generally the same composition rules, so it's really important to learn first. But honestly, follow your heart, follow your interests. As long as you touch all of these things eventually, you're in the right place. And again, if you're not sure where to start, creating a project will really focus your attention on different topics of learning, if that makes sense. When I first got into comics and jumping into webcomics, having no idea what I was doing, there was a ton of stuff I had to learn fast. It forced me to study color and perspective, because otherwise my comic was going to look awful forever. And when I started looking into printing, I had to learn how to I had to figure out the difference between screen colors versus ink colors, all sorts of stuff. When people started pointing out in my comics that I was drawing the same face everywhere, all my characters had the same face, I had to learn how to fix that. So having the project will really surface your weaknesses and the flaws in your work, which is great because that means you can learn how to fix those things. Whereas if you're only doing studies all the time, it can be easy to kind of lose track of where you are or what you need to work on. Having a project is also great for keeping you working every day, keeping you motivated, and having a nice little product you can show at the end of your learning experience. So another really important thing when you are self-taught is to find a critique circle and get feedback. So feedback will help direct you where to study next, similar to having a project will. Because someone who has an outside perspective can look at your work and tell you where you're making mistakes, tell you where you need to focus. And yeah, it can give you direction when you're stuck and you don't know what to do on your own. I think when you aren't in school or you're self-taught, it's really easy to think that you have to learn everything on your own when you really don't. Leverage your peers and people in the community to help you improve. That's what they do in art school. They have critique circles, you get feedback from your profs. So you just have to do that on your own. It won't be directed by the professor. Yeah, you don't have to do it alone. Along the same lines, try to find a mentor if you can. So that could be an art teacher or a coworker or a friend. Just studying what they do well and asking questions when you can really helps. When I was learning graphic design, one of my coworkers, my boss, he was a great mentor to me. I learned so much just from his feedback, him having way more experience than I did. Critique circles and mentors are great places to find direction and leverage knowledge that you wouldn't have otherwise on your own. And finally, set aside time to do the studying. So having a project is great, for all the reasons I stated before, but make sure you have time to just explore. It'll take the pressure off of making every piece perfect. If you just have some time to study or improve something, grab some exercises from a workshop or a workbook or whatever, or an article, do some life drawing. And the only thing you have to do with those is to learn something. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything finished. It doesn't have to be something you can sell. It's just to learn. And you never have to show it to anyone. Although you should, because it's good to get feedback, because you'll find mistakes. But anyways, take the pressure off and just do some studying. That's something I definitely need to do more. I get really focused on working on my projects, but sometimes I do hit a wall, like where I can't go any further because I need to study. For example, I am really bad at drawing birds, so I had to take a lot of time to just sit and study birds in my sketchbook until I finally got a better sense of what they actually look like. So yeah, if you find you're hitting a wall, things aren't working, set some time aside to just study. Teaching yourself how to do art is super hard. A lot of the time you might feel alone, but you should be really proud of yourself if you are studying on your own. It's a lot to learn, it's a lot of hard work, but you can do it. Reach out to your community, leverage all the resources you can, go to workshops, read books, learn from professionals in the space, and don't worry about learning it all at once. You can jump around between topics, or you can just focus on one at a time. There's no wrong way to go and learn it. Personally, I definitely follow learn things as you need them, with the exception of the fundamentals, because you kind of need the fundamentals to do any of it in the first place. It's okay to learn as you go. I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for listening. If any of you have any questions, or you'd like to request a video topic, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, also, if you have any writing questions, Bones, the other guy on this channel, will be answering those. He's just a little slow to make videos, but they're coming. He will talk about the writing. Alrighty. Goodbye, guys. See you next time.